Today, we're seeing a troubling trend. Jobs disappearing during conflicts. Wars and political instability don't just affect borders, they disrupt entire economies. Businesses shut down due to safety risks, supply chains break apart, and investment slows as uncertainty grows. Workers are often displaced, infrastructure is damaged, and everyday commerce becomes difficult or impossible. As a result, millions lose their livelihoods almost overnight. Understanding why this happens helps us see how deeply conflict impacts not just nations, but the economic survival of ordinary people. Today, we will talk about why jobs are disappearing during conflicts. So before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. 1. Introduction. Jobs are one of the most important pillars of human life because they provide income, stability, dignity, and access to basic needs such as food, housing, education, and healthcare. However, during times of conflict, whether civil wars, regional violence, or large-scale international wars, this foundation becomes extremely fragile. Conflicts do not only affect military zones or political systems, they directly penetrate everyday economic life, disrupting the ability of businesses to function and workers to earn a living. As uncertainty spreads, economic activity slows down, and employment opportunities begin to shrink rapidly across both formal and informal sectors. When conflict begins, the impact on jobs is often immediate and severe. Factories may shut down due to safety risks. Transportation routes may become blocked, and supply chains that connect producers to markets are interrupted. 2. Destruction of infrastructure and workplaces. One of the most direct reasons jobs disappear during conflicts is the physical destruction of infrastructure. Roads, bridges, factories, offices, schools, and hospitals often become damaged or completely destroyed. Without transportation networks, supply chains collapse, preventing goods and workers from reaching workplaces. Industrial facilities may be bombed, looted, or abandoned, instantly eliminating thousands of jobs. Even when buildings remain intact, utilities such as electricity, water, and internet services become unreliable, forcing companies to halt operations. Reconstruction takes years, and until then, many workers remain unemployed or underemployed, unable to return to their previous occupations. 3. Displacement of workers and population movement conflicts often force large populations to flee their homes, creating refugee and internally displaced populations. When workers are displaced, they lose access to their jobs in local labor markets. Even skilled professionals such as teachers, engineers, and healthcare workers struggle to find employment in new locations due to licensing barriers, language differences, or lack of documentation. Businesses in conflict zones also lose their trained workforce, making it difficult to continue operations even if facilities remain functional. This mass movement of people disrupts labor supply and demand, leading to job scarcity in both affected regions and host communities. 4. Collapse of local and international trade. Trade is a vital source of employment in almost every economy. During conflicts, both local commerce and international trade suffer severely. Borders may close, shipping routes become unsafe, and sanctions may be imposed on countries involved in conflict. As imports and exports decline, industries such as manufacturing, agriculture, and retail experience sharp downturns. Farmers cannot export produce, factories cannot source raw materials, and retailers cannot stock goods. This disruption leads to layoffs, reduced working hours, and in many cases, complete closure of businesses dependent on trade networks. 5. Decline in investment and business confidence. Investment is highly sensitive to risk, and conflict dramatically increases perceived risk levels. Domestic and foreign investors often withdraw capital from unstable regions to protect their assets. Without investment, businesses cannot expand, innovate, or even maintain existing operations. Startups fail to secure funding, and large companies scale back projects or relocate to safer countries. This reduction in capital flow results in fewer job opportunities and prevents new job creation. Over time, the economy becomes stagnant, and unemployment rises sharply as the private sector contracts. 6. Government budget strain and public sector cuts. During conflicts, Governments often redirect large portions of their budgets toward military spending and emergency response efforts. As a result, funding for public services such as education, healthcare, infrastructure development, and welfare programs is reduced. Public sector jobs may be frozen, salaries delayed, or positions eliminated entirely. Additionally, tax revenues decline because businesses are closing and workers are earning less. This creates a fiscal crisis where governments are unable to support employment programs or stimulate economic activity, further increasing job losses across society. 7. Inflation, poverty, and reduced consumer demand. Conflicts frequently trigger inflation due to disrupted supply chains and reduced production. As the cost of basic goods like food, fuel, and housing rises, people have less disposable income. Consumer demand declines sharply, forcing businesses to reduce production and cut labor costs. Small businesses are especially vulnerable because they operate on thin margins and cannot absorb prolonged financial pressure. As poverty levels rise, informal employment increases, but these jobs are often unstable, low-paying, and lack legal protections. This shift from formal to informal employment reflects a significant loss in overall job quality and security. 8. Long-term economic scarring and recovery challenges. Even after conflicts end, job recovery is slow and complex. Economies suffer from long-term damage known as economic scarring, where productivity remains lower than pre-conflict levels for years or even decades. Skilled workers may have migrated or changed professions. Industries may have permanently relocated, and infrastructure rebuilding takes significant time and investment. Trust in institutions and markets must also be restored before normal economic activity resumes. As a result, job creation lags far behind population needs, leaving lasting unemployment issues even in post-conflict reconstruction phases. Conclusion. In conclusion, the disappearance of jobs during conflicts is not caused by a single factor, but by a combination of deeply interconnected economic, social, and political disruptions. War and instability destroy infrastructure, displace workers, weaken trade, and reduce both investment and consumer demand. Governments also struggle to maintain public services as budgets are redirected toward survival and defense needs. All of these pressures work together to shrink economies and eliminate employment opportunities across nearly every sector. Even after conflicts end, the effects on employment can last for years, showing that job loss is not only an immediate crisis, but also a long-term challenge. Rebuilding economies requires stability, trust, investment, and time. Understanding these dynamics highlights the importance of peace, not just for security, but for economic survival and the protection of livelihoods. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up, leave a comment, and click the button to subscribe.